Kevin Harvick has been at war with NASCAR for months, but things really took a massive turn when Harvick directly called out NASCAR and fired a clear warning their way. The No.4 Ford Mustang driver of Stewart-Haas Racing is angry with the top people of NASCAR who, according to him, do not care at all about the safety of the drivers on the track. So what exactly is Kevin's issue? What did he say? How did the NASCAR officials respond? And why is all this terrible news for Harvick's career? We think we have the answers, so let us fill you in. It all started with Harvick going completely crazy after a race at Darlington where he was driving extremely well before his car suddenly caught fire, denying him a chance to compete for a much-deserved playoff spot. And he's not the only one who got served such horrible fate. This season, the cars of other drivers also caught fire several times. But what particularly enraged the Ford driver is that Harvick pointed out the safety problems of the new next-gen cars long before the mentioned race. But NASCAR did not listen to the 2014 champion at all, despite him not being the only driver who sent harsh criticism to the leaders of this organization. In addition to criticizing the NASCAR officials for months, Harvick seems to have made an important decision. So what is that? And is it really likely that we'll see him retire at the end of the year? Harvick has been competing in NASCAR for almost 2 decades. In 2001, he replaced the legendary Dale Earnhardt, who tragically ended his NASCAR career. Therefore, it is completely understandable that Harvick is worried about his life and that of his teammates. He had a solid race at Darlington, and then for no reason, without any contact with other drivers, his car caught fire. And after the race, he said what he thought of the people running NASCAR right now. He questioned their competence to lead such a serious organization. From his interview, you could see that he is extremely angry because he believes that driver safety should come first, and NASCAR is very slow to respond on this issue. What they've done so far has not contributed at all to prevent the situation that happened to Harvick, but also to many other drivers during the season. Safety can't be slow. The safety cannot be slow, and this car, it's screwed up as far as the way that it crashes. Whether the data says that or not, every driver in this garage will tell you that it's not right, and it hurts. Feet hurt, hands hurt, head hurt. The frustrated Ford driver began. I'm sure it's just crappy-ass parts on the race car like we've seen so many times. They haven't fixed anything. It's kind of like the safety stuff. They just let it keep going and keep going. A few days after Harvick's criticism, NASCAR allowed teams to make upgrades that should prevent a repeat of Harvick's situation. Scott Miller, Senior Vice President of Competition, felt that what happened to Harvick at Darlington was unacceptable, and that's why NASCAR gave permission for the teams to make changes to the next-gen cars before the Kansas race. He did not want to get into a discussion with Harvick or the other drivers because he believes that the top people of this organization care about the safety of their drivers. To say that NASCAR didn't care is about as far from the truth as you could get, Miller said. That's really all I have to say about that. I'm not going to get into any kind of back and forth contest with Kevin over the airwaves. I think he actually does know we do care. He shut down Harvick's suggestions angrily. Harvick wasn't too thrilled with NASCAR's determination and took to Twitter in a highly sarcastic manner, apparently believing that the organization's top brass had done nothing substantial and that driver safety was still at risk. Great week for the sport. No more fires and a badass all-star race location. Now let's be aggressive and get to work on fixing the front, rear, and side impacts for the driver's safety, the veteran wrote. And just before the race at Kansas, Harvick was furious again and decided to bring Twitter to real life, once again accusing NASCAR of not caring about the drivers at all and suggesting that they only care about money. Safety is a secondary issue at this point, and you should find people who will properly run NASCAR or people who are outside of NASCAR who will objectively look at things regarding the safety of existing next-gen cars. The whole safety thing is really kind of second fiddle right now, and I just don't think that's fair to the drivers. I do not think it's fair to the drivers, and we can debate all day, but debating isn't really fixing anything. I think when I look at the car itself, it's not rear impacts, it's not front impacts, it's not side impacts, it's all impacts. No matter what their filter data says, it's not what the drivers are feeling. We need a louder voice. As I sat and thought about it this week, it really needs to have more of an independent group that makes the decisions on how to implement things and how to go through a process that's outside of NASCAR and the teams, because NASCAR is slow to react and the teams are always worried about money. That doesn't do anything for the drivers. Harvick continued his attacks on NASCAR even after it was announced that at the race at Texas, Alex Bowman suffered a concussion which caused him to miss 5 races in the rest of the season. The 2014 champion was furious because NASCAR deals with data and not with how things really are and how endangered drivers are in the new next-gen cars, as shown by the Bowman case. Completely unacceptable that those in charge have let things get to this point. I remember it like it was yesterday in the presentation of the new car to the drivers, pleading that the car was too stiff. data didn't agree. Time to listen to the drivers crashing them. Many will say that Harvick paid the guild with several months of attacks on NASCAR because after the race at Talladega, it was noticed that his next gen had been made illegal modifications for which Harvick and his team were punished. NASCAR docked both Harvick and Stewart-Haas Racing 100 points each, fined crew chief Rodney Childers $100,000, and suspended Childers for the next 4 races. NASCAR said the penalties were for modification of a single source supplied part. NASCAR noted that the selection of the vehicle to be inspected was completely random, while all those who love Harvick pointed out that they know what it is about, that it is not a coincidence that Harvick was expectedly punished for the criticism that addresses NASCAR's executives. In addition to everything he has said for NASCAR in the past few months regarding the safety of new next-gen cars, there are also speculations about his further future in NASCAR as a direct result of his anger toward the organization. And you can't blame Kev. After everything that has happened, the big question is how much Harvick wants to keep competing. In his career so far, he has achieved as many as 60 victories. He is the champion of 2014, and he has nothing left to prove to anyone. And it really seems Harvick has had enough and has declined to renew his contract with Stewart-Haas Racing. Information has been published that his team does not expect his return after 2023 and that he is close to deciding to retire because he is already 46 years old and now his family and some other things could be the focus of his interest. It's no secret that Harvick is not on good terms with Tony Stewart, who wants some other drivers on his team. Rene Haas is a person who wants to continue working with Harvick, but if he doesn't want it, the team won't force him to do anything. There is a disagreement between Haas and Stewart about the drivers who should drive for this team. Stewart has a high regard for Ryan Preece and would like to see him in the team, while Haas wants to continue working with Cole Custer. Zane Smith, who competes in the Truck Series, is mentioned as one of the drivers who could replace Harvick. Information has also reached the public that Tony Stewart will not be in NASCAR for much longer, and such doubts are fueled by one of his tweets in which he said, "Looking for a new weekend hobby, something not southeastern based if anyone has any ideas. Something low drama and relaxing preferably." About whether he would retire after the next season before the final race of this year's NASCAR championship, Harvick said that he has not made any decision and that he will think about continuing or ending his career after the race at Phoenix. I don't know, I think everything is kind of a moving target at this point. For me, I just want to have fun, as we go forward and enjoy it, and there's just a lot to consider for 2024. So, I will sit down after we get done with this week and start to worry about what all that looks like so that it doesn't put anybody in a bad spot. Fans love Harvick, not only because of his great performances on the track over the past 2 decades, but also because of the honesty he has shown in criticizing NASCAR in the recent months. They are aware that his rich career is coming to an end and that some other things should take priority. Harvick has a son, Keelan, is a very talented driver, and Kevin could be his coach. It is also increasingly being said that after the end of his career, Harvick would become the owner of one of the NASCAR teams. Some of the fans think it's time to end his career because otherwise Harvick could turn into Kyle Busch. Some of them weren't even born when he made his NASCAR debut and understand the potential decision to retire. If Harvick does not retire, then we get another Kyle Busch type driver sweepstakes. I'm not surprised Harvick is nearing retirement. Dude's pushing 50, has young kids, and has made it well known he doesn't like the new car. This man literally was the guy who replaced the great Dale Earnhardt Sr. I wasn't even born when that happened, he concluded. And that's it. We want to know what you guys make of the whole situation. Do you agree with Kevin? Do you think NASCAR takes safety seriously enough? Do you think Harvick will retire? And is there anything you would do completely different if you were in charge of NASCAR? Let us know in the comments down below. Our main goal with this channel is to keep you informed and up to date with all the latest news from the NASCAR world. Will you be a part of it? It is as easy as hitting the subscribe button and turning post notifications on. A massive thank you to all our subscribers. Till next time, racers.